The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Leatherface. The movie starts off the only way a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie should start off. That epic crawl, baby.
And the so-called Texas Chainsaw Massacre was only the beginning.
Then we get the title card and Leatherface bashing some poor chick's head in with a hammer. He's about to get him a new face. We're then treated to this very Nightmare on Elm Street-esque opener. That's when we see one of the ones that got away. Right as Leatherface is about to give chase, we cut to the open road where we meet our two main characters. Ryan, played by the one and only William Butler. Yeah, he's the only guy in horror film history to be killed by both Leatherface and Jason Voorhees. Oh, and he was also Tom in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. And his friend Michelle, played by Kate Hodge. They're cruising down some Texas road on the way to bring Michelle her dad's car when they hear a news reporter on the radio about a massive body pit somewhere down the road.
At the side of the grisly mass grave has caused the first ever traffic jam in the history of the interstate.
And we cut to the night where we get a Caroline Williams cameo. Remember Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2? Ryan and Michelle pull up to the roadblock, and that's when we see it. The massive body pit. Before passing through the checkpoint, one of the cops gives them some stern advice.
Just move along and keep moving. Don't stop for nothing or nobody.
Then, it's back on the road again. They see that there's a gas station 10 miles up the road, and they're sitting there bullshitting when this happens. They then pull over to scope out the damage when they find out that the poor armadillo is barely still alive. Then, Ryan grabs a giant rock to end its suffering. They arrive at the gas station. This is where we meet the weasel-ass, up-to-no-good looking motherfucker here. So after old creepy gas station guy freaks Michelle the fuck out, he takes a picture of her and tries to sell it to her. Just like all these other fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, they always gotta be trying to sell you a goddamn Polaroid picture. What's going on with that? She then runs into this cowboy dude named Tex, who basically tells Crazy Eyes to get the fuck. Crazy Eyes then goes inside to reflect on the situation. After visiting the shitter, and after seeing some morbid shit, Ryan heads back to the car where he meets Tex. Yeah, something just ain't right about this fucking guy. Michelle decides to use the restroom before they get back on the road when creepy hick boy peeps in on her taking a piss. What a sick fuck. Tex comes in to break up Weasel's little peep show, and he isn't having that shit. The delusional, partially blind hillbilly fuck arms himself with a fucking shotgun. Oh, he's pissed now. As they go to drive away, Redneck Boy shoots out the back window. Then, he turns the gun on Tex.
The cowboy! He shot the cowboy!
Don't worry, they won't get far because Weasel Boy sends in some reinforcements. What a crazy asshole. So they're cruising down the dark Texas back roads, lost as fuck, when they notice someone is following them.
Oh my god! It's coming from behind us!
Well, no fucking shit, Sherlock. How long did it take you to figure that out? The mysterious truck speeds up only to get in front of them and throw a dead coyote carcass into the fucking windshield, pretty much causing them to pull over in the middle of nowhere. And of course, they also have a flat tire. Great. They finally get done changing the tire when this happens. Leatherface shows up, and for some reason, instead of killing them, he just kind of scratches up the car a little bit. Michelle finally gets the car to start up and slams it into reverse, knocking the chainsaw maniac to the ground.
We hit him!
Oh wait, never mind. He's just really pissed the fuck off now. After customizing the car's trunk, our two main characters narrowly escape. Well, for now. After all that tomfoolery, we cut to the one and only Ken Ferry, most known for his iconic role as Pete Washington in the 1978 George A. Romero zombie classic, Dawn of the Dead.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the
and Benny's just cruising along, minding his own business. Somehow, dying Tex's body is all the way out here in the middle of the road. This causes Benny and our two other characters to almost get into a head-on collision, ultimately causing Benny's Jeep to flip over and sending Ryan and Michelle tumbling down the side of the hill. Ryan climbs from the wreckage when he runs smack dab right into our old pal Benny. Michelle seems to be alive, just unconscious. But lucky for them, they got Benny here and he's a survivalist, and he knows exactly what to do. Ryan starts to babble about a guy with a chainsaw, and Benny thinks he's talking crazy because of all the blood he lost. But Benny here thinks that it must be those goddamn lumberjacks.
Militant lumberjacks. I see them all the time.
Then we get a little backstory on why Benny is even out here in the first place.
Got a survival camp with a few buddies of mine. Trying to keep in training for the big blow up, you know what I mean?
Michelle finally comes to and starts spouting off the same crazy shit. That's when Benny notices the giant chainsaw-sized holes in the car.
An awfully big saw.
Benny then goes to his truck to get some goodies.
Now I'll go get some goodies out of the Jeep. And find your buddy. Stay put.
When he notices some whack job with a hook for a hand just lighting some flares in the middle of the road. Captain Hook here agrees to lend him a hand. See what I did there? When Benny goes to climb into the back of the truck, he notices a giant chainsaw just chilling in the back. Benny then decides it's time to get the fuck back to the truck and properly equip himself. Captain Hook floors the truck at Benny, and in the nickle of test, he grabs his gun and jumps out of the way Die Hard style. Benny then finally gets acquainted with good old Leatherface. Then we get this badass fight scene. He's even got little miniature saws. He's so innovative. Just when Leatherface is about to show Benny just how much of a lumberjack he's not, creepy dirty kidnap chick shows up to divert Bubba's attention.
Hey, scumbag! Here! You want me, not him!
Yeah, this bitch is really losing it. Well, shit. I guess I'd be losing my shit too if I was trapped in the middle of the woods being held hostage by a bloodthirsty cannibalistic family. Benny has had it up to here with the current events, and he wants some fucking answers.
I need some questions answered, and I need them answered right now. Do you understand me?
This is where we get a little backstory on old Looney Tune lady here.
They got us a week ago. I'm the only one left. Me and my sister. Sisters.
Benny hears Michelle calling for him in the distance, and Crazy Chick stays behind for some reason. On his way back to the car, Benny notices some very Rambo-esque traps set up all over the woods.
Nice neighborhood.
Shit. Imagine accidentally walking into that fucker. Cut back to Cuckoo Clock Lady, and of course she runs right into Leatherface. Well, because of body count, you know? Leatherface finds Ryan and Michelle. Ryan trips and looks down, only to find that his foot is caught in a bear trap. Pretty much giving Michelle no other choice but to leave him behind and run for it. And guess what happens to Ryan? Michelle runs up on an old house that's glowing in the distance. She goes inside only to find a small girl at the top of the stairs crying. She then follows the little girl into an upstairs room and finds out that the whole thing is a motherfucking trap. Tex then shows up out of nowhere, perfectly fine and not dead. Oh, and he's one of the members of this cannibalistic family, and he's been in on it since the beginning. After a little southern hospitality, it's time to meet the rest of the family. That's when Captain Hook comes busting through the door with dinner. We then cut back to One-Eyed Weasel Willie here. We get one of the best songs in horror film history. The Motherfucker song.
Oh, you motherfuckers, don't tell me what I should do.
And after some good old-fashioned body disposal...
Is it soup yet?
cut back to the house where Leatherface is showing Michelle some of his favorite jams. After a little music, it's time for Junior's gift. It turns out that Junior didn't earn his gift because he let Benny get away, and Captain Hook here isn't too happy with his smelly ass. He throws Leatherface's Walkman into the oven to quote-unquote teach him a lesson, but that turns out to be a crucial mistake.
Okay.
Made that man use his good hand.
I better use my strong hand.
Benny finds Weasel Boy alone in the woods and tells him that the jig is up. Then, this happens.
Fuck you, mister.
One down.
Fuck yeah. Then we cut back to Leatherface's shack, where we get this hilarious speak and spell scene. This is when Benny stumbles upon Junior's macabre little clubhouse.
What kind of sick shit is this?
Cut back to the house, and this wouldn't be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie without a good hammer to the skull.
3.
Benny sees what's going on inside and begins to open fire in this bitch. Finally, someone in a horror movie with a fucking machine gun. Fuck yeah, movie. Shoots off Captain Hook's fucking ear. Badass. Michelle frees her hands from being fucking nailed to the chair, and then she makes a break for it. Kick on the rock music, throw them devil horns in the motherfucking air, cause it's time for the final chase. Oh, and also a final fight between Tex and Benny. Not ending very well for Tex.
Oh, fuck.
After some more perfectly placed booby-trap slapstick action, Leatherface has Michelle cornered and is about to tear her a new one when her plot armor kicks in and Benny comes out of nowhere and tackles that sumbitch. They both, along with the somehow still running chainsaw, go flying into a nearby murky swamp. A struggle ensues, and Leatherface gets the best of Benny and slices his head on the still fully functional, fully submerged, probably filled with water, somehow still running chainsaw. In one final stand, Leatherface attempts to grab her, but she picks up this huge rock and bashes his fucking skull until he lets her go. Leaving Leatherface and his trusty, still running chainsaw, it's probably going to be super rusty after this, sinking into the bottom of the swamp. It's the next morning and Michelle survived the hellish night when Benny pulls up. And just as they're about to ride off into the sunset, one-eyed Weasel Willie shows up for one final scare. But that doesn't go too well for him either.
You backwoods motherfucker.
They did it. They fucking survived. And right before the credits roll and the rock and roll kicks in, we see Leatherface is still alive and is still out there. So, do I recommend this movie? Does a one-eyed weasel dispose of body parts somewhere deep in the Texas swamp? Fuck yeah. I definitely highly recommend you guys check out this film. It's not the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre by any means, because I mean the first two were, especially the first one was a fucking classic, and part 2 was pretty fucking good as well. This one's really great too, but like I said, it's not as good as the first two, but it's definitely a great third film in the franchise, and definitely made for a good trilogy for a while until they later on cranked out Next Generation and then the remakes and all the other bullshit that they made later on. I gotta say that the performances by the characters in this movie are really fucking awesome. They're executed very nicely. Kate Hodge does a great job as Michelle. And then, of course, you got the one and only William Butler, you know what I mean, as Ryan. R.A. Mihailoff does an excellent job as Leatherface. And also, Kane Hodder played Leatherface in some parts, too, so that makes him one of the only actors to ever portray both Leatherface and Jason. That's pretty badass in itself. Oh, and I forgot to mention, even has a fucking badass trailer. It's like some Excalibur or Highlander shit. Check this out. Now that's pretty badass. Soundtrack's pretty cool. They got a really badass song called Leatherface. The makeup effects are just really nice, and all the practical effects are really good. It's very fucking bloody, pretty gory, even though there aren't that many kills in the movie. That doesn't mean it wasn't a good film, because just the sole fact of having Ken Ferry in there alone made it badass as fuck. He literally makes the film. You guys, go check it out. Scott 86, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Leatherface. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Monster Mash.
Motherfuckers, don't tell me what I should do.